I love the hood styling and even this beautiful grille. I like what Ford's done with it. Now, a few things that are going to be standard inside of the Escape. We're going to have LED headlamps regardless, the option for LED fogs. This thing also has a forward sensing system. So forward sensor is great because it can help out as we get closer to obstacles, but this also does have the option for a full 360 camera, and it looks really, really nice on that new multimedia screen. I think Ford did a beautiful job there. There are these nice chrome highlights on top of that right by the fog lamps, and then there's a little metallic highlight right on the lower part of the bumper. Under the hood of the Escape, and it's not on hydraulics, just a regular prop bar, but realistically, easy enough to get under the hood here. And we've got this, the 2-liter turbocharged engine that you're gonna find in a number of other Ford vehicles. So the Escape has a few different options when we look at what's going on under the hood. You've got the 1.5-liter i3, the 2-liter i4, there's the 2.5-liter Atkinson hybrid, and then there's the 2.5-liter Atkinson plug-in hybrid. So a lot of different options just based off of what your personal needs are. Like if you want to get some electric miles, you're obviously going, your best bet would be the plug-in hybrid. But if you don't care about the hybrid side of things, this 2-liter engine is a beast, especially when you look at the weight of this vehicle. Like this thing pushes out 250 horsepower and 280 pound-feet of torque. It's like a little bit impressive. You want to make sure you're regularly maintaining your vehicle to make sure your manufacturer's warranty stays intact. If something goes wrong because of a component that you haven't gotten serviced properly, or haven't gotten serviced at all, I should say, it could potentially void your warranty. So you want to make sure that you're regularly maintaining your vehicle, regularly changing your oil, because these things like $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, you want to make sure you're protecting your investment and getting the best possible life out of it all at the same time. You're going to find a series of different wheel sizes that are available. Like inside of the base, you're going to have just regular 17-inch, and then you're going to get up to 18s or 19s with varying styles depending on the packages you've added on and the trim level that you've chosen. So we're in the Platinum, which gives us this style, and it has a nice blacked out Ford logo right in the middle of the wheel. The Escape you're going to be able to find either front wheel drive or all-wheel drive, depending on which trim level of the vehicle that you're in. So it's going to be different too if you're in the hybrid, the plug-in hybrid, or the regular gas versions of the vehicle. This specific one is an all-wheel drive, and this system is an intelligent all-wheel drive. So we do have some drive modes that we can select through the center stack, but what happens is with the intelligent all-wheel drive, the vehicle is going to determine which wheel, which axle needs the most amount of power, and then it's going to shift out power as necessary. Now just to show you how big this vehicle is, so I'm 6 feet tall, I can see over top, no problem. So realistically getting in and out of this thing, you're not going to have an issue whatsoever. But I do like it, and it is based off of the same platform as the Maverick and the Bronco Sport. So size-wise, they are fairly identical to each other, which is pretty nice. Now there is quite a little bit of technology here too. We've got our 5-digit number pad on the outside, our blind spot system on our side view mirrors that are also heated, and then we've got intelligent access. So as long as we've got the key fob on us, we can press here to lock the doors. We can slide our hands in order to unlock. And I have to say, I love the new look of the Ford Escape. The interior here looks really, really sharp. From the metallic highlights along the door that carry all the way throughout the dash to the brand new media screen. Oh, this looks really, really nice. Ford, kudos, you did a fantastic job here. And then this thing does have the option for an upgraded audio system. So a 10-speaker Bang & Olufsen, which this one doesn't have. So we're looking at different speaker options with varying degrees of quality depending on how you have this thing configured. We'll get to the audio test in a bit though, but it is pretty nice all at the same time. The seats here are surprisingly comfortable. This is nice. We still don't have the option for ventilated first row seats inside of this thing, so it's strictly going to be heated for the first row. Fingers crossed we get ventilated eventually, but we at least have the heated seats, which is nice. Now you might have manual seats or power seats depending on your trim level, and even the seating material is going to depend on your trim level too. Like if we're in the lower trims, like the base trim level, going to be just regular cloth seats, but you do have the option for the Active X seating material that we're seeing here. And like all of the different highlights that are inside of it, the way that the seat is, the design of it, I think Ford did a fantastic job here. This is good. And hold on, spacing wise, so this one has the optional panoramic sunroof, and then with the seat all the way down as far as it's gonna go, I've got, what's that, maybe 4.5 inches roughly of headspace. So a pretty solid amount of space here, which is always a nice thing. I like the wheel. Feels a little bit more premium than usual. This is nice. We've got our traditional blue oval, but nice black wheel with a glossy highlight down low as well. We've got a nice metallic highlight along the bottom part of the steering wheel, and then even through the steering wheel pads too. It's nice. Now this thing does have the adaptive cruise as well, and the adaptive is that set it and forget it cruise. So you set it at 100 kilometers an hour on the highway. If the car in front of you slows down, picks up speed, whatever the case may be, it's going to adjust your speed as necessary there. It's a fantastic system. And one amazing thing is that Android Auto and Apple CarPlay are now wireless because of this upgraded Sync 4 system. There are a few different options for the multimedia screen inside of this thing. So this one has the larger 13.2 inch option. There's a smaller 8 inch instead, but it doesn't matter which version you're in because we've got the same wireless Android Auto Apple CarPlay support in both screens. We would still be able to hook up through either Android or iPhone devices. On iPhones to use Google Maps, Apple Maps, or Waze, and then on Androids to use Google Maps right through this screen as well. Looking at our media screen here, so we do have our home icon along the very top. We've got our factory navigation and very responsive there. I've also got USB now, and I've got a song on there, so I'm gonna plug this bad boy in and see, this should work. Yeah, USB device detected. Yeah, it is. Let's go sources, USB device, and
Step 2, get some good, some food in you. Step 3, you grow hard about what you want to be.
okay. So hold on, this song,
Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Wake up,
that's at half volume right now. So I'm gonna crank it up a little bit past half. This is gonna get crazy.
good day. Wake up, today's gonna be a good.
So not even full volume yet, and like this thing is car shaking, and this isn't even the upgraded audio system. So when you go for one of the upgraded systems, it just brings a completely different sound inside of this thing. Moving back home, we can easily add in a phone, series of different settings on top of that. So we've got things like media player settings, sound settings, general display, vehicle hotspot, valet mode, things like that. Moving back, we've got a feature section. So we've got our drive modes there. So a series of different modes, which are also going to change up the dynamic look of this cluster screen as we move between different modes. Back again, we've got some driver assistance settings. So quite a few things, different options for traction control, brake assist, and things like that. There's also a digital owner's manual here. And then we've got some basic apps. So our basic app screen down on the very bottom right side, we've got Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, and some mobile app capabilities. We do have, so our climate is no longer built into the bottom part. It's now built right into the screen. So as you can see there, we do have heated seats for the first row, so we can easily toggle them on off there. We've got dual zone climate control, so we can adjust that right through the screen. We no longer have toggles along the very bottom there. So easily adjust these things out if we'd like to. We can do a drag and drop, or we can just do a plus minus that way instead. Like I mentioned, we do have dual zone, so we can have it set different for the driver and the passenger side. The option for heated steering wheel. We've got our fan control. There's an auto setting. Oh, auto setting there. And then do we want the climate going to our windshield face feet? Do we want dual zone, max air conditioning, etc.? Max defroster, rear window defroster, air conditioning. Moving down, we've got our four-way blinkers. We've also got this nice highlight throughout our vents. Moving down, we are push button start inside of this thing. We've got a driver assistance button. There is park assist inside of this available as an option. This specific one doesn't have the added technology package to give it, but it is available there, and it's a great system. Can help with parallel parking, perpendicular parking, parallel park out, etc. Our auto start stop system, so that's one that's potentially going to kill power to the engine if we stop for an extended period of time. Our max windshield defroster, a hot button press to get to our drive modes, and then we've also got this button to flip into our 360 camera. So we've got our 360 view. We can turn that beeping that we get as we get closer to an obstacle. We can go full 360 view. We can go front view, front full view, or backup view, back to 360, where we even have the flexibility of zooming in to different things if we wanted to. So zoom in and out, etc. Back to those different options. Hide it from there. We've got our volume rocker, power button. Also, as we move down, you can see there that we've got a wireless charge pad. So if your phone supports wireless charging, we do have a pad there. It'll take a second to kick in. We've also got a few USB power points. So traditional USB, USB Type-C, and this one obviously we're plugged in order to get different media from the media screen. So as long as you've got MP3s plugged into here, it's going to recognize them. We've got a 12-volt power point there. Shifting down, we've got a nice metallic highlight here. Traditional shift, well, we've got a rotary shifter, I should say, so park, reverse, neutral, drive into a low gear. Down a bit more, we've got our parking brake, auto hold settings. So one of the big benefits there is that if auto hold's on, we put the vehicle in drive, we take our foot off the brake, the car's not going to move. Park again, on off. I do recommend normally keeping that one on though. We've also got a few cup holders down there too. And then we've got our armrest with a good amount of storage space as well. Moving up overhead, this thing does have an auto-dimming rear view mirror. We've got some cabin control lights. We've also got shade controls for our panoramic sunroof. So for the shade and then for the roof itself. So the whole roof isn't going to open up. It's about, there we go. There we go, there it goes. Nice. Yay far that it opens, so not too shabby with a single button press. Secondary button press opens it up a teeny little bit more, but it's really nice. So we've got one for the actual roof itself and then one just for the shade. Very straightforward. Typical Ford styling. We've also got a sunglasses holder. On our visor, we've got a business card holder. There's also our HomeLink system. So if you've got a garage door opener, you can program it in. This thing has also a business card holder on the inside. The visor has a vanity mirror built in with lights, and this thing extends out to block all of the sun that might be hitting our face, which is nice. And this thing is a 2-row vehicle. So let's hop back to that second row and see what's going on space-wise. Second row of the Escape is actually pretty nice. Good amount of butt cushion, you heard that there. And that's because we've got the flexibility. There's a bar between our legs. We can move the seat forwards and backwards a little bit. So if we need to create a little bit more space, you've got that flexibility. And don't get me wrong, I actually have a ton of space on my knees here, like knees and feet. There is a lot of space in the second row, which is great, but we can move these things back a tiny little bit more if we need it. So we've got a lever along the side, the one that we would use to fold the seat down. We can also give it a slight recline. And like with it reclined, it's a little tight for me, like what, 1.5 inches, maybe 2 inches of headspace there. So not a ton of space, but like just enough. 3 full-size versions of me might be a little bit tight, especially for the person who has to sit in the middle seat here. Not impossible, but I mean, it's like a little tight, like a little bit. I wouldn't want to have to sit in the middle seat, but it is available there as an option if you do need it. Now, if you're not using the middle seat though, we do also have some cup holders there, always useful. If you've got kids, front facing, rear facing, not going to have a problem. We've got all of our anchor points. We've got our tether points behind the seats there too, which is very straightforward. Now, one thing, we don't have a map pocket behind the driver's side, but we do have one behind the passenger side seat. And then just behind the armrest, we also have 2 power points. So 2 USB Type-C. Up overhead, we do have a little handle. We've got a clothing hook and then also a little light on both the driver's side and the passenger side. So we've got hooks, handles, I should say, I guess technically, and clothing hooks on both sides, as well as our lights. So super useful there. So this thing is built on the same platform as the Bronco Sport and the Maverick, and those second row seats are locked in place. So if you need the adjustability factor, that is there. If you like the features of the Escape, but you're not sold on the body style, you could look at, like I said, the Maverick or the Bronco Sport. You're going to see very similar feature sets inside of those things. You're not going to see the new Sync 4 media screen or a hybrid, though, in the Bronco Sport. You're not going to see the media screen inside of the Maverick, but you will find it available as a hybrid. And you can find review videos for those vehicles down in the description of this video. Just along our driver's side, capless system, and it does have anti-theft or anti-siphon technology built on top of that, which is useful. Now, it doesn't matter if we're looking at the 1.5, the 2 liter, the 2.5 hybrids, whatever the case may be, regular 87 fuel is your minimum manufacturer's recommendation. But if you want the best possible performance out of your vehicle, you're going to ideally want to use a 91 or a 93 octane. That's how we're going to get those true horsepower and torque numbers that we saw underneath the hood. It's not necessary though. Like I said, like an 87 is technically minimum manufacturer's recommendation. You're going to lose roughly 2 to 3% of your power by using that 87 versus the 91 instead. So not too crazy at the same time. I gotta say, like, I love what they did with the original redesign a couple of years ago, how they changed out the badge to this different text instead. It looks really sharp. I like it. But because we're in the Platinum, we've got our Platinum badge along the bottom left, all-wheel drive along the bottom right, because this is the all-wheel drive model. This one does have the reverse sensing system, and then very similar styling for our rear bumper. So we've got that kind of like metallic look along the very bottom, like painted silver, I should say, like what we saw on the front end. We've got our LED tails, we've got our backup camera there, reverse wiper on top of that. Now this specific one doesn't have the available tow package that you can get right from the factory. Normally would recommend to go that route if you think you might be towing at some point. When we look at tow numbers, the 2.5 liter hybrid, doesn't matter if it's the plug-in or the traditional hybrid, are going to max out at 1,500 pound towing capacity. The 1.5 is going to max out at 2,000 pounds, and then this thing is going to max out at 3,500 pound towing capacity. So it does have pretty good tow numbers when you look at it. Getting into the trunk, we've got a few different options. So power liftgate inside of this one. You can unlock it from your fob. There's a button just to the left-hand side of the steering wheel. And then if you look at the C and escape, just underneath, there's a button there. Just gonna insert your fingers, push, and up we go. Now the escape actually does have a pretty good amount of cargo capacity just by itself. But before we get there, there's nothing really off to the right-hand side. Off to the left side, we've just got a 12-volt power point. And then this one just has the regular carpet liner in the back. We do have the option for a thermoplastic rubber tray though, right from the factory. So if you wanted to get some protection for the backside here, you've got that flexibility. And then we've also got this tray we can lift up. We've got a little bit of storage space along the side. Not a ton, just a little bit. There's a white spigot off to the right side if you ever need to fill up using a jerry can. And then this also has the mini spare tire. So not a full-size spare, but at least we've got the mini. And the jack is right underneath the mini spare tire there. Now, if you're handy, you want to do it yourself, it is there. If you're not handy, or you just don't want to do it yourself, you do have forward roadside assistance. And forward roadside assistance is good for the powertrain warranty of the vehicle. So that 5-year, 100,000 kilometer in Canada, or 5-year, 60,000 mile down in the States. Now when we look at sizing, so we do have a 60-40 bench, so 60 driver, 40 passenger, and we can easily fold down the seats in the second row. All we're gonna do, pop open the door, drop, and down she goes. So very straightforward in order to be able to drop the seats there. And I mean, it just opens things up so nicely. Now I do have the driver's seat for these measurements set up for myself, so being 6 feet tall. So obviously if you're a little bit shorter, you have the driver's seat pushed up a little bit more. It's gonna give you a few extra inches of space there. But still, height, width, depth, you get a pretty good amount of space back here, which is great. And then closing the trunk, same idea, we can use the button just to the left-hand side of the steering wheel. We can use the key fob, or there's a button up overhead, and we can close it that way instead. I'm gonna say the purple paint here, like technically a red, it does look fairly sharp. But what'd you think? If you have any questions, comments, drop them down in the comment section of the video. If you found this one useful though, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and share this video with a friend. Until I see you next time, take care.